All right, so if you look at the top of page 3, it describes for you the 5 steps, okay? First thing we're going to observe at the very top of page 3, it says writing ionic compounds. Look at your flip chart and get to the side that says getting the formula. So turn the paper so that your flip chart opens as a book with getting the formula at the top. Page 3, flip chart, turn. Getting the formula. Getting the formula. That's the side you need to be on. Okay? Now, if you look at your paper, before we do that, I'm sorry, let me back up. Look at your flip chart and look in the front. What does it say ionic start with? Ionic start with a metal. Look at the staircase. Over there, that's a better staircase to see. To your left. You see the red staircase, right? Metals are behind it. Except for hydrogen, it's a non-metal. Non-metals are after. Here's the way you can remember that. Everybody knows copper's a metal, yes? And where is Cu? Behind the staircase or after the staircase? Behind or to the think about that. To the left of the staircase, right? Okay, so ionic compounds will be named with this set of rules. You're going to learn 3 sets of rules. Okay? Your 3 set of rules will depend on what it starts with. If you look down the front of your flip chart, it says ionic start with a metal, covalent and molecular starts with a non-metal, and acid start with a hydrogen. So it's really quite easy when we have them separated. Okay, but then we combine them all, which we will do, it gets a little more complex. So it's good to always just recognize that what do I do when it starts with a metal? What do I do when it starts with a non-metal? What do I do when it starts with a hydrogen? Okay? So you can see that if you look at the first example on page 3, it starts with lead 4. Lead is a metal, yes? Okay, so then we're going to use the steps. Now, if you look at the top of page 3, it writes out the steps. Okay, I'm going to borrow you just a minute. It says, read first word as a cation. Write first word as a cation, positive ion. Write second word as an anion. Use the periodic table anion sheet. Add parentheses, switch numbers down, reduce numbers, and rewrite without ones. There are 5 steps. Okay, I have paraphrased these 5 steps or shortened them with your flip chart. So if you open your first window of your flip chart, the ionic window of your flip chart, you will see the first step is we call plus or minus. The second step is put polys around. Third step is crisscross down. Fourth step is to reduce. And 5th step is to rewrite, or no ones. Rewrite without ones, but just paraphrase it, no ones. Okay? All right, so that's what we're going to do. Let's look at our first example. All right, so we're going to start with this example. Everybody on page 3 and see example 1. Okay.
Can you just back out?
Okay, you need to stop talking.
We're going to get it in name and right formula.
All right, so PB, Roman numeral 4, what does that tell me its symbol is? Well, first of all, we know it's P. I don't know if I have this still plugged in. Hang on 1 second. Oh, I lost my control here. Yeah, because I can't find my blue one. Sorry, I came unconnected. Hang on just a sec. All right, back with me, please. Back with me, please. So we're doing the plus and minus step, right? So this is going to be PB 4 plus. Why is it 4 plus?
4.
Because Roman numeral value is 4, right? It is plus first. First word is always plus, second word is always negative. Find sulfate. You're always going to find the second word on the top of your ion sheet. So flip over to the ion sheet. Tell me what sulfate's formula looks like. SO4. 2 minus, right? You found it on the top half of your ion sheet. Everybody find it. Okay? Everybody find it? All right, so that's the first step. Agree? Did I just do a plus and a minus step? Next step is to put parentheses around poly. Remind me what a polyatomic ion is. 2 or more capital letters, right? is PB has two letters, but they're not two capital, are they? So no parentheses around PB, we'll just rewrite it. But parentheses around SO4 2 minus. Because it's poly. Put it around the whole thing. Okay? Put parentheses around any. Now, if PB was poly, it'd go around both. Okay? All right, now we're going to crisscross down. All right, now there's a mathematical reason why we're crisscrossing down, and I'm not going to explain it to you, but we need a compound to be neutral, meaning that it no longer has a charge. Okay, but if you go with the method I'm about to show you, the math all works out, and if you care to see the math sometime, I'll show it to you, but I will confuse more of you if I explain the math. And there's no reason to really explain the math other than you need to accept that when I go through this method, your charge becomes 0. So you're going to switch numbers. So the plus and minus number will be switched, but written as subscripts. You do not bring the plus or minus, you just bring the value of the number. Say that again. You trade with your neighbor, right? PB and SO4 neighbors. They're going to trade their superscript number. And when they trade their superscript number, they have to write them as a subscript. But we do not bring the charge, we just bring the number. So, PB will become a 2. I keep my parentheses, if there's parentheses, and I go outside the parentheses. So this 2 came down, this 4 came down. Take a moment to look at that. Did the neighbors trade numbers? They did. I left off the plus and minus. I traded numbers down, and I left off the plus or minus. And I had to write my superscripts, then become subscripts. Questions about that? That is the third step, crisscross down. Now we're going to reduce the steps we crisscrossed, the numbers, pardon me, we crisscrossed. We're going to reduce the numbers we crisscrossed. Basically what you're thinking about is what number goes in, which of the two numbers go into both, right? So my 2 and my 4 are my numbers I crisscross. They're the only ones I can try to reduce. Would you agree that 2 goes into 2 once, right? And 2 goes into 4 twice, right? So 2 divided by 2 is 1, 2 divided by 2 is 1, 4 divided by 2 is 2. Okay? 2 divided by 2 is 1, 4 divided by 2 is 2. Okay with that idea? Notice the parentheses are still there, right? The parentheses must remain until the final step. Okay? Sometimes they remain even in the final step. So that's the fourth step. The fourth step said to reduce. Now we're going to rewrite without 1s. So if there's a 1, get rid of the 1. The parentheses doesn't have a 1 after it, does it? So that means it has to stay. Because I don't want it to look like there's 42 oxygen. I want it to look like there's 2 SO4s. So it'll be, final answer would be PB, parentheses SO4, parentheses 2. The 1 went away. I had to keep the 2 because it was outside parentheses. And 1's the only thing we can take off. So that would be the final answer for that one. We're going to do several. It'll be fuzzy and it'll get clearer later. Okay? So if it's a little fuzzy, that's okay. Questions at this point? All right. Next one. Uranium. What's the symbol for uranium? First step is plus then minus, right? So uranium is U. And what is VI, Roman numeral value? 6. So 6 plus. And find boride on your ion sheet. Remember the second word, you always look at the top half of your ion sheet. What is boride? Look in alphabetical order. Find it. B3 minus. Okay? B3 minus. Second word is always on the top half. Everybody know where I'm talking about top half? So I know you were gone, so this is top half, right? Okay. And Roman, you know where that is? Yep, up there, right. All right, next step, polys. Do I have polyatomics in either of those? So then put a line through this. Eventually, you will be able to skip steps when necessary, but for today and for the beginning of this portion of the unit, I want you to show your steps. All right, what's the third step? Crisscross down, right? So we're trading numbers, writing them as subscripts, but not bringing the plus or minus. So U gets the 3 as a subscript, and B gets a 6 as a subscript. They traded numbers down.
So do they turn positive?
They're not really, they kind of are, but it's about balancing the charges. And I can talk to you about that one-on-one, but I'm not going to introduce it to everybody. But you can think of it as they turn positive when they come down, if that helps. They have to be subscripts. They can't be up, equal, or above. They have to come down as subscripts. All right. So that's my crisscross down third step, right? My fourth step is to reduce. Remember what we're thinking about. Can one of the numbers go into both? 3 can go into 3 and 3 can go into 6, agree? So this will become U1, 3 divided by 3 is 1, and B2. 6 divided by 3 is 2, yes? So what did we think about? We thought about this 3 divided by 3 is 1, this 6 divided by 2 is 3. This 6 divided by 3, this 6 divided by 3 is 2. All right, fifth step, rewrite without ones. So I'm going to do U, B2. Okay, so U, B2. The 1 goes away, the 2 must stay. Okay? So same set of 5 steps, right? Eventually you'll be able to skip steps. Not today, but eventually. We got to first get good at this so that when we get stuck on one, we know the 5 steps by heart. Yes, sir? Are you stretching?
No.
Oh.
How do you know the other, what's it called?
Are you talking about the boride or the uranium?
Yeah.
Boride? Which one?
You just answered for me
Okay.
there.
I answered your question? Okay. Well, yay me. All right, third one.
I just wrote about it.
That's okay. Magnesium, there's no Roman numeral. So what do we have to do to figure out its charge? Look on the ion sheet, yes? Find Mg on the ion sheet side. Remember, those are at the bottom. You should see that Mg is a 2+. Okay, so Jordan's second word, we look for tartrate in the negatives in the top half. Always second word in the top half. I think that might have been what you were asking.
Yeah.
What is tartrate? I don't know this one by heart. C4H4, 06, -2?
Yeah.
2 minus, right? If you look on your ion sheet, you look for tartrate, you'll see it. Okay? It's got 3, but it's still an ion. All right, do either of these get parentheses? Mg doesn't, it's monatomic, but this one does, right? Tartrate gets parentheses around it, agree? Because it's poly, 2 or more atoms, so carbon, hydrogen, oxygen has 2 or more, 3 is more than 2, so. Crisscross down, what am I trading? The 2 and the 2, yes? So Mg gets a 2 from that guy, C4H4O6 gets a 2 for magnesium. Gotta write them as subscripts, gotta crisscross them down. Fourth step says reduce. What are we thinking about? Which of those numbers goes into the other? 2 goes into 2 and 2 goes into 2, yes? So this becomes Mg1, C4H4O61, okay? I can't do anything with that 6, it's protected with the parentheses. And it has to be there anyway because it started with a 6 there. Okay, I can only reduce the numbers I crisscrossed. Okay, I crisscrossed 2 and 2. Now we're going to clean up without ones. That's the final step, yes? So this ends up being Mg C4H4O6. If a parentheses is followed by a 1, you get rid of the 1 and the parentheses. Let me say that again. It's the only time you get rid of parentheses. If a parentheses is followed by a 1, like you see in this example, there's a 1 after the set of parentheses. When you reduce, or when you rewrite, I should say, excuse me, when you rewrite, you will clean up the 1 and the parentheses. They both will go away. That's the only time you can eliminate a parentheses. If it's followed by a 1. Okay, because this says we have 1 unit, and that says we have 1 unit. Okay? Questions about number 3? Getting a little less cloudy, I hope. Gold. This is AU3+. Okay? AU3+. Why is it what is it? Why is it 3+? Roman numeral, right? Where do I find hydroxide? Top. What's hydroxide's formula? OH1 minus. Yes, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody confused with this step? Say something now. Sophia, did you say yes?
Yeah.
Okay, what part don't you understand? You understand why it's 3+?
How do you know that you get OH minus 1?
Because you look up the word hydroxide on your ion sheet. You have your periodic table out?
The backside, you've got a table with -1s, -2, and
I shouldn't
-3s.
even have a periodic table out. That explains. That would make you very confused.
Yeah.
So if
Your
you look at your
periodic
periodic
table,
table,
leave
you'll
that
see it. I'll leave one out. I mean, unless you memorize it. You memorized it last night? No. You did? What?
You can remember all of this?
I know a lot of them. But I've done it for 22 years. 22 years. 22 years. All right. Do either of these get parentheses around them? Are either of them poly? Either of these get parentheses around them? LH does, right? Put parentheses around OH because it's poly. It's tricky poly, but it's a poly. A lot of folks forget OH is poly because you don't see subscript numbers, but isn't it 2 atoms? Isn't O and H both atoms?
Yeah.
So it's poly. OH is poly, just like CN and HS are. Those are the 3 that get you. Not that I'm trying to get you, you just forget. Crisscross down. So what does AU get from OH? AU gets a 1 from OH, yes? And what does OH get from AU? 3? Can anything go into 1 and 3 to reduce it?
No.
Everybody, every year someone says 1. Every year somebody says 1. Does that reduce it? No.
No.
Yes, ma'am.
How do they get parentheses and?
If they're polyatomic, do you remember what that means?
Capital letters.
2 or more capital letters on either the front or the back half, get parentheses around them. Okay? All right, nothing to reduce, right? So nothing for this step. Because 1 and 3 can't be reduced by any whole number. So then I rewrite without 1, so that means this goes away, the 1. But I have to keep the 3, because and the parentheses, right? Because the only way I can get rid of parentheses is if it's followed by a 1. I know, there's wolves next door. It's scary. Don't worry, their door's shut. All right. Number 4, questions. Okay, number 5, manganese. That's Mn. 6 plus. Okay. Thiosulfate. I believe it's S2O3. 2 minus. Okay, so Sophia, does that make sense now where you find that second word? Look at the top half of your ion sheet. Does Mn get parentheses around it?
No.
Nope, it's mono. Does S2O3 get it?
No.
Yes, it does. Is it
It
S2O3?
does, yeah.
Yeah, it's poly, right? Because it's 2 capital letters, sulfur and oxygen. Be nice. Okay, crisscross. So the 6 gets traded down after the parentheses, because it always goes outside when you crisscross those parentheses. And the 2 comes down, yes?
So what, how did you get, like, that's.
What is the first 2?
Divided what numbers?
I took this 2 and traded it back to Mn, and 6 traded with SO, so they trade numbers.
Swap the number from the
Swap the numbers, write them as subscripts, but do not bring the plus or minus. Does that make sense? Okay, can anything go into 2 and 6? Well, 2 goes into 2 and 6, doesn't it? So this becomes Mn1, S2O3, 3, because 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. Agree? Ash, I need you to sit up. Come on. All right, we need to clean it up without 1s, yes? So that would be Mn, S2O3, 3. Have to keep the 3, because the only time I can get rid of parentheses if it's followed by a 1. Questions? All right, number 6. This ammonium is a hard one. Remember, there's 2 that are smack dab in the middle of your ion sheet, hydronium and ammonium. So do you see ammonium in the middle of your ion sheet as NH4, 1 plus? Everybody locate that on their ion sheet. And then dichromate. Dichromate, I believe, is Cr2O7 with a 2 minus charge. Everybody see dichromate. Look in the -2 group and look in the Ds. Pardon me. Okay, do we need parentheses? Or, yeah, sorry.
On both of them. Why is there a little like pattern thing?
There is, don't worry about that. All right, so NH4, does it get parentheses around it? Is it poly?
Yes.
Yes, it's poly. What about the Cr2O7? Does it get parentheses around it?
Yes.
It does. Both of them get parentheses because both of them are poly. Okay, and that's pretty rare that you're going to run into that. Mostly you'll see polys at the end. but this could happen. So what is NH4 getting from Cr2O7? A 2. So I rewrite NH4, and outside its parentheses I get a 2, because it has to crisscross outside of parentheses. What is Cr2O7 getting from NH4? 1, because that's what it has, right? Thank you. All right, everybody clear with that? A crisscross traded partners, right? You trade with your neighbor, but write your number. They write their number down. They put you in the basement. Okay. Is there anything to reduce with a 1 and a 2?
No.
Nothing to reduce, so nothing for step 4, because 1 and 2 can't be reduced by a whole number. Now I have to clean up. Okay, rewrite without 1s or no 1s. So do I have to keep the parentheses around NH4? Yeah, because it's followed by a 2. So I'm going to keep NH4, 2, but I get to get rid of the 1 and the parentheses around Cr2O7. If a parentheses is followed by a 1, you get rid of the 1 and the parentheses. Questions about that one? All right.
Thank you, Rebecca.
To what? To this one?
Nah, you can keep going. You need.
All right, I want you to do 7 through 12. You need to show all 5 steps, and I'm going to flash the key up here so you can check. If you just copy the answers, great. You can copy the answers. That doesn't show you know how to do it for a test or a quiz that's coming next week. Okay, here are the answers. See if you can get them.
Guys, make sure you write all the steps.